Welcome back to Beers Up Sports Talk. Sibo in the house, Debo in the house. Let's get into it. What are you drinking, D?
You know, I got the beach gear on, the waves. I got the whale shirt from Fenwick Island, and this was the beachiest drink I had in the house. I went back to that Mule Kick. You know, it's light, it's flavorful, Drunken Rabbit. So on there, just trying to. I'm ready for vacation, man. I want to get to the beach. I want to go swimming. I want to go ride the waves and drink some beers on the beach. So we're in.
Well, it is. I mean, it is school vacation next week, right? Mm-hmm. So you heading out to the beach?
Never know. I mean, maybe do it right in the snow. Get some snow waves. Get a wetsuit, and it'll be nice and warm.
There it is. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm drinking that hanger beer, bro. I got Amherst Brewing Company. I got Juliet.
Love it.
It is. I mean, beautiful. The color's great. Taste is great.
No, I enjoy,
you can choose from any one of the ladies for Amherst Brewing.
I agree. I'm not sure why, but I'm not a big fan of the Brittany one, but
Oh, speaking of Brittany, let's just go on a tangent. Have you seen the documentary?
I have not seen the documentary yet. I it's on there, so it's definitely something we're gonna watch. We've kind of we've gotten sucked into Superstore. So we're only.
I highly recommend it. Watched it last night. Hashtag free Brittany. It's Brittany bitch. Get that woman out from under her dad. All right.
I look forward to it.
Let's move on. Right. Let's get to the Super Bowl. Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are your Super Bowl. Well, you picked them.
I did.
Are your Super Bowl champions? Are your Super Bowl champions? That game wasn't that fun.
Nope.
Shout out to Brady for winning his 7th ring. He certainly got it in yesterday on the boat.
He did.
I thought he played better than anticipated, but the only MVP of that game is that Tampa Bay defense.
That defense was ridiculous. What'd they say? They said that from time of getting snapped to letting the ball go on all of his throws and getting pressured, Mahomes, that is, ran for 497 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Is that insane or what? I mean, he was running for his life. They said it was like 38 pressures in a game. And now remember, we talked about Green Bay and how they couldn't stop the defense. He was getting pressured, and that's part of why he didn't go for that run, because he thought he was going to get sacked, so he threw it. It's a legit thing. If you're getting pressured, you're going to struggle. What happened to Brady? Brady in the first half of the Packers game, clean pockets, was throwing touchdowns, and then second half he started throwing picks. He didn't get what he get rushed 4 times the whole game. That was crazy. And the one he did, he threw a pick, but there was a penalty on a, I don't know if I agree with it. And there are some calls that I wish were called in the Packers game, but again, not blaming the refs, but just the inconsistencies from game to game is just crazy. But you gotta give it up for that Tampa defense, man.
This was my list of things. I in no particular order. That Tampa Bay D, that Chiefs offensive line that was clearly banged up. I mean, I think they lost 2 starters the week before against Buffalo, and they weren't able to contain that pass rush. The drop passes were ridiculous on the Chiefs. Just, I mean,
there were a couple,
and again, a couple, but I think they're maybe not as bad as I want to say they are, but because the Chiefs don't ever seem to drop passes, to see Kelsey dropping passes, to see balls right in people's hands and get dropped, just, you're like, oh, look at, Mahomes just made a great play. He's just going to chuck it downfield. Oh, Kelsey's right there. Oh, wait, he dropped it. That never happens. The phantom penalties, I'm not to your point, I'm not going to blame the game on a couple of penalties, but those were some big penalties. And through the first half of the game, the ratio of penalties was not even close. It was something like 9-1 or some crazy stuff like that. And the other thing I'll say, which is probably the smallest piece of this, but I think can't be understated given how much pressure Tampa Bay is giving, is the turf toe injury that Mahomes had.
Yes.
I'm not assigning blame, but he clearly couldn't move. And he clearly didn't feel comfortable stepping up into the pocket. And part of that, I think, is obviously the pressure, because his first step was always back and taken off. but he was limping out there. But the other thing I'm going to say, where was the Kansas City adjustment? It's the Super Bowl. Even at halftime, it didn't really look good, but they weren't that far behind. They were getting the ball back. Absolutely no adjustment. It's almost like they just said, we're just going to keep doing this because eventually it's going to click. Now, don't get me wrong. It's always clicked. Since Mahomes has taken over, it's always clicked. And so I can't be mad at them for doing that, but like it's just mind-numbing that at some point Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy just didn't say like, okay, let's go to the short routes. Or let's get the ball out quick.
Or bring in a second tight end and do a chip block, or just block block 4 with 6 instead of with 5. I mean, It was very clear that they could not handle it. No, I agree. And it looked like they were definitely outcoached. Todd Bowles coached a fantastic defensive game.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to give, and I'm blanking on the Bucks. Byron Leftwich.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything crazy, but one thing you got to look at is, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit when we get to the NFL awards, is Tampa Bay went for it, right? I mean, every single person that scored a touchdown in that game was not on the team last year. Antonio Brown, Gronk 2, and Fournette. Like, they went for it. And Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Ronald Jones, they got their rings and they're happy. They're like, yeah, would they have liked to have scored in the Super Bowl? Of course. But like, it's like Brady was like, yeah, I'm just going to not only throw, but you know what I mean? I'm just like, Gronk is my guy in the end zone in the Super Bowl.
Right.
I'm just going to make that happen and just say, I can do whatever I want when I want. But you just got to stack it up. And I mean, and again, we'll talk about that later, but I think what they did was, it's going to be something you're going to be seeing for a couple teams.
At least you hope so. I agree. Like, I think the idea of going all in when you have, especially in this day and age, when you have a quarterback like Brady, or you have kind of a superstar quarterback, again, now it's tough, right? Like, you got to have, to be fair, that team, sure, all the touchdowns were scored by people that weren't on the team last year, but there's a lot of really good talent that was already on that team.
Oh, of course. No, I agree. Right? Like, they could have went to the Super Bowl without Gronk and Antonio Brown. Like, that's
right.
That's a very honest opinion. Like, they had enough firepower to do it without them. It just, they almost guaranteed it by saying, if someone gets hurt, I still have Brown, I still have Gronk to back up Brady.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I just, like, it can't be lost on the fact that team was stacked. Like, Brady didn't join a team that needed a lot of help. Now, he's a phenomenal quarterback, maybe one of the best to ever do it, but like, he was joining a team that was supposed to be really good with Jameis Winston as the quarterback, right? And so him coming in, and yes, you add Fournette, who just happens to get cut at the beginning of the year. You add Gronk, who has retired and comes back. You add AB, who ain't a great human being, but just happens to be out there, right? Like, all of these things kind of work out really nicely for him. And all three of those people had to take, well, I guess Gronk not really, but like, Fournette and AB had to take less money than they probably would have got somewhere else. But again, to your point, if you're chasing rings, you're going to take less money. I know Mike Evans has already said he'll restructure his contract. A lot of those guys are going to come back for less money. Word on the street is Godwin might be gone, but I get that. Like, the reality is, if you want to go all in and you have a quarterback, you should, because winning a Super Bowl is it. That's it. And yeah, there's talk that like Kansas City would be better. They're already favorites to win next year.
Yep.
But they had a chance to go back to back, and they just didn't show up in that game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, it was part of it's hard to go back to back, but I didn't expect that to be 31-9. I expected that to be, both teams up in the at least the upper 20.
Yeah. But I think though no one will ever, people have said it, though no one will ever admit to it. I think that offensive line being decimated over the last couple of weeks had a lot to do with it. They lost some like all pro type guys on that offensive line, and that Tampa Bay defense, that front four was just all consuming.
They're tough, man.
All right, let's move on to the NFL awards. End of the season celebration. Let's get into the big one, because it's your man, MVP of this NFL season, Aaron Rodgers. I know you've been riding him all year. I was in and out. I went with some other folks from time to time. You feel good about this?
I think it's great. It's disappointing that they didn't at least get to the Super Bowl. I think he did have a great year. Josh Allen equally deserving. Patrick Mahomes equally deserving. Like all three of them had great seasons. Like it's insane. He took 44 of the 50 votes home, so it was very unanimous, which was great. And what I'm going to say is back to the going in. Now, last year when we were talking about the Packers, I said we need more weapons. I'm past that. Like, I believe the MVS is like seeing what they could do. MVS is good. Lazard's good. We have a tight end now. They had 3 running backs. Now they have to figure out which one they're going to sign, if they're going to re-sign anyone. But Tampa Bay just proved it. You got to go out. You go get the best players available that you can get. And, people are saying that certain players may want to start looking to chase rings, and this is a good team to do that with.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. Rodgers, maybe he makes a run at number 4 next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did. He looked that good.
No, and I think if I'm Rodgers, that's exactly what I'm saying to the front office. Like, why are we not chasing rings? Like, your Kansas City setup, everybody's going to be on that chasing rings with that team for as long as they can, right? As long as Tampa Bay has Tom Brady, they're going to be chasing rings. And there's other good teams out there that are going to start to do this, to your point. If you can get to a point where your quarterback can lead you to a 12, 13-win season, like, let's load up and see what can happen.
Yeah, and a guy I follow on Instagram, he showed the different the different contracts that can be restructured this year if they want to chase a ring, instead of, because they're really tight on the cap because it's gonna be a lower cap this next year. So there's gonna have to be some restructuring, and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But if they want to, they're gonna have to do something. And the office did come out and say, I think it's time to do that. So I did hear it. So hopefully they'll.
Well, that's great. It's just frustrating that they kind of blew an opportunity to do this year, and maybe even to some extent last year.
Waited 5 years now? 6 years? 7 years?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Offensive player of the year. No surprise here. Derrick Henry, over 2,100 total yards, almost 400 touches, 1 million people run over in the season. Running backs have a short shelf life, but like the last couple of seasons have been incredible to watch with him.
Yeah, he's an absolute monster. Like I can't believe he didn't get more opportunity prior to this. Like, was it like the last 2 years? Last 3 years really has been his swan song. He was not number 1 on the depth chart, which is crazy, because he just, like, what he's doing now is insane. It's funny because what was it, 3 weeks left in the season? I was like, is he going to get to that 2,000? And you were like, no. Right. And then I was like, yeah, I think he will. And then after the next week, I was like, no, he won't. And then
he went bananas.
230, right. The guy, the end of the year is when he shows out, because it's going to be his ball. Tennessee is a run first team, as good as AJ Brown is, and as consistent as Tannehill has been. This is Henry's team until he breaks down.
Yeah, no doubt. Good on him. All right, defensive player of the year. No surprise here. 3 out of the last 4 years. Aaron Donald. He's a monster. He's like what this is something that just came to mind, because Ndamukong Suh was supposed to be that all-encompassing defensive lineman. And then he became like a little bit of a pansy, started hitting everybody, and has turned in a pretty good career. But like, Aaron Donald is exactly what Suh was supposed to be, and maybe even better. Like, there's no reason a guy his size should be able to move like he can.
No, I do 100% agree with you. And at first I was like, I need to look at something. So I looked at Zadarius Smith's stats, and they're very similar, almost identical. The difference is Donald is getting double and triple teamed on most play calls. Right. And Zadarius is not. Like, there's a big difference in what Donald is doing. Like, I was like, I'm surprised Zadarius Smith didn't get as many votes as he could have. And then, just really thinking about it and saying, no, he deserves it. The guy's an absolute monster. He was hurt for the last, the 2 playoff games that they were in, and wasn't full bore, but he still was pretty dominant. even while hurt.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. Let's move to Offensive Rookie of the Year. My guy, my man, Justin Hebert. Most touchdowns ever for a rookie. I think I said it from the jump. What do you think?
So, yeah, you even picked. I almost said San Diego. You almost picked the Chargers. You picked the Chargers to actually draft him, and I didn't think that was going to happen.
That's my man, apparently.
There you go. Let's be honest. If Burrow doesn't get hurt, he probably throws more touchdowns than Hebert.
I don't know.
But I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he did. I think it's absolutely the right call. Justin Jefferson was pretty close. He had a great first year that looked not on par, but pretty darn close to being on par with Randy Moss's rookie year. So, but Hebert, man, he I don't know how they didn't win more games with how good he played. He never should have. He started struggling towards the end of the season after he shaved and cut his hair.
After he cut his hair. No, you know what? The thing about Hebert is he kind of won the award after everybody kind of fell off. I know Jefferson never really fell off, but Jefferson took a little bit longer to get going. You're right. Burrow and even James Robinson, who had that great start to the season, kind of faded toward the end. But that's just because Jacksonville's god awful.
Yeah.
But Hebert, yeah, I mean, in a normal year, in a year where their coach isn't making bad decision after bad decision, yeah, they might win 9 games, they might win 10 games, and because he did enough in a lot of those games to be successful.
Yeah, it should be a fun year next year if Keenan Allen gets healthy again and Mike Williams comes back healthy. It could be a fun team to watch.
Well, right, and you're talking about a full year of Eckler. I mean, he wasn't there the whole year. I mean, you just think about the things that he had to navigate. Pretty impressive. All right, Defensive Player of the Year. Again, no surprise here.
No surprise.
The top defensive player taken in the draft, an absolute monster on the field, running around like a damn safety, playing like the defensive line position, Chase Young.
I mean, this is what they expected Jadeveon Clowney to play like his whole career, right? I mean, after that one hit Clowney put on that Michigan running back, they kind of expected Chase, him to do that. And Chase Young, he, that's a man's man right there. He everyone wants to be a beast, but he lives it. And he's not afraid. Like we talked about it in the playoffs. He wasn't afraid to say, I want Tom Brady. That's what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say, I want him. Now, he didn't have a great game because once he said that, they were like, yeah, he's not going to do it. But you got to put yourself out there. And I mean, this kid stays healthy. He's going to be putting up some really good numbers. I wouldn't be surprised when he wins the Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, and the other thing is, I'm gonna, obviously he's a monster player. He was a monster player in college, but it helps that he's got a good coach, good culture there in Washington. He comes in under any other regime. I don't know that he's the player he is, just because I think that does matter. Like obviously he's going to come in and play hard, but I think he's in the right place with the right coach, and yeah, he's going to have a great career. All right, last one or second to last, or you got something else?
Oh no, I was just saying no. I agree.
All right, let's just stay right there in Washington. Let's talk about comeback player of the year. I mean, there's probably other people you could consider for this, but no one else deserves it because no one else came back from a broken leg that almost killed them.
Yeah,
and that's Alex Smith.
And I've seen the little special on him and what they've had to do, what he has to go through before every game just to make sure he's all right. And obviously we started to see those issues towards the end of the season that, even though he came back, that it's still there. I mean, right now, there's a chance they bring him back and he's their quarterback because they're not going to find anything. Now, granted, they might draft someone, but you're probably not starting them. They re-signed Heineken.
Yeah.
Heineken.
That sounds good. Sounds delicious.
Yeah. So, I mean, no matter what happens, I wouldn't even be mad if they named this after him, right? The Alex Smith Comeback Award, because he could have gave up and said, I just want to live my life. And he said, no, I just want to prove to people that even if you have this huge setback, you can come back from it and let's make it happen.
Yeah. And the reality is he kind of got thrown into the fire, right? Like he probably wasn't expecting to play all that much this year and then found himself thrust in the starting role and clearly just kind of got worn down. You come back from that kind of injury and you jump right back into it as soon as you're able to, there's a good chance you're going to get run down. I'm glad he didn't sustain any more injuries. I'm hopeful that he can continue to play next year. I don't know if the Washington football team should roll with him, just because I think they'd be better served going in a different direction, but I don't know what direction that is. But
Right.
Good on Alex Smith for being back and being the comeback player of the year.
Can I just say one thing, and this doesn't have nothing to do with the award, but just like it's not like the toughest game that Brady had or the Bucks had was against this Washington football team with Heineke as the quarterback. Like,
Yep.
the team was literally a one possession game going towards the end of the game until didn't score that touch. Like, it's insane to think that the Packers, the Saints, and the Chiefs couldn't finish this team off. Yeah.
All right, last one, Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland Browns. He finally kind of breaks the Brown curse. He gets them to the playoffs. Baker Mayfield kind of reaches his potential. That team's got a lot of weapons, a lot of success in the future. I mean, there's some other coaches that could have got it, but I think it's rightly deserved.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when you break that curse, you kind of get thrust into that. I mean, when you haven't won a playoff game, haven't been to the playoffs, you get to the playoffs, and you haven't won a playoff game in even longer, it's insane. You know, and he did it with Odell going down. Like he got the team, like the team could have fell apart. Now, granted, they weren't doing great when he was like
nope.
Maybe when he went down, the whole dynamic changed. I mean, I would assume not, but it's something to be watching next year when Odell's back and see how the team plays.
You're being very nice. Yes, they got much better once Odell left. Once OBJ got out of that team and his little attitude left, they kind of came together and got it done. And good on Kevin Stefanski. Don't you try to sugarcoat it. Shout out to the Bills Mafia people who were kind of going in on Kevin Stefanski, saying that Sean McDermott should have been Coach of the Year. He did a great job, but what he's been building over the last 3 or 4 years, one, he doesn't need to be Coach of the Year, and two, Stefanski deserves it for the turnaround of that team. And again, they were talented already, but he put it all together this year. So good on him.
No doubt.
All right, let's jump over to the Major League Baseball world. Spring training only about a week away,
which is crazy.
Team's about to head down to Florida, start playing baseball again. Let's talk about a couple of the deals, a couple of the trades that just went down. We're going to start close to home. Last night, Andrew Benintendi, once the top prospect in the Red Sox organization, traded to the Royals for a couple of guys who probably will be average baseball players, a couple of players to be named later that will probably be nobodies. Thoughts? I'm just sad.
Right now, I'm gonna clip that soundbite. So when both of the players that they traded for blow up, we can play it for them. No, I mean, this is a money move, right?
They save about $1.2 million. I think this is the new VP Bloom. I think this is just him moving players, getting some depth in the minor leagues, trying to build this roster in his vision. And while Benintendi is a very good player, not very good last year, but very good in recent years, came in second in the Rookie of the Year voting his rookie year. Maybe he didn't think that he was going to be a value to team. Again, at $3.5 million, it seems like a lot of good value.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a money thing. I think it's just a roster thing for them, honestly.
What's the Red Sox outfield going to look like now?
So you got this Frenchie guy. You got Verdugo. You got Kike Hernandez and what's his face? I'm missing from that they picked up from San Diego via Tampa Bay.
Oh.
And there's a good chance that he's going to platoon with this Frenchie guy. It's all right. I mean, it's still going to be okay. I was texting with some guys today. I think that this is still a team that wins more games than they lose. But I think the other part of it is that they're going to have a lot of financial flexibility in the next couple of years, and hopefully they reinvest it in the right way.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, let's move to Trevor Bauer. 3 years, $102 million. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
He signs with the Dodgers. It's down to him. It's down to the Dodgers and the Mets. The Mets offer more money.
LA. I like him going to LA.
His big thing was, can I build my social media presence? Is this team committed to data analysis, sabermetrics? Obviously, the Dodgers are big into that. And he's a SoCal guy, so he's kind of going home. That pitching staff is banana land.
Borderline insane. I mean, David Price just got a year off to heal.
And he's your number 5.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So I was reading.
Go ahead.
I was reading the ESPN article about the top rotations in baseball, and obviously they're number 1. And I was all excited about the Braves rotation. They're number 6, nice number 6, but it's not close. Like looking at the numbers and the analytics, it's not even close. And I mean, they can pick and choose who they want to start game 1 of any series.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. It doesn't matter. That team is stacked. Watching them go against San Diego is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm hoping that San Diego does not take any steps back because they're a young team. That's the concern, right? That they're going to be.
Well, but they're also. I'm thinking about you talking about going all in, right? Like this is the Dodgers continuing to go all in, right? So like they've got Kershaw signed, they got Betts signed, now they got Bauer for 3 years. They re-signed Walker Buehler for 2 years of his arbitration years. So you basically figure they got a 2 or 3 year window that they know right now we're all in. And again, they've been all in. They're World Series champions, but like let's keep going on. And I would say to the Padres, maybe they take a step back, but they're much younger. And even with all those additions, like they're still a pretty young team. And I think they see their window is in 4 or 5 years. Again, they want to win now. The Dodgers seem primed to just go for it year after year from this point forward.
Yeah, I mean, their offense lost Pedersen, and they're going. It doesn't seem like they're going to re-sign Jeff Turner. So they have a few things they have to do offensively. But I mean, it's still a good lineup. But I mean, you don't have to score as many runs when you're throwing a pitching staff out like that.
No. Would have been great for the Mets who've been spending a lot of money or trying to spend a lot of money, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. But I'm sure you're glad not to have him in the East.
Oh, I'm ecstatic. I mean, the Mets, they did their thing. They traded for Lindor. They're projected right now to win the NL East.
I mean, that's a great move for them. I mean, they gave up 4 players, but they didn't have to give up their top prospects. They gave up a couple of top 10 guys. Rosario, who's been their shortstop. I mean, Lindor is an MVP candidate every year. He's going to get a big deal for them. But again, they've got their shortstop. They're kind of like their standalone offensive player for the future, and they can build around them.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough out there for a lot of the NL East. I think you're going to see, again, not going to be a runaway division for anyone.
Well, and that's another rotation that if they're healthy, good Lord, they can go.
Yep.
They can go.
Thankfully,
let's stay in the NL East. Let's talk about your boys. They re-signed Marcell Ozuna.
We talked about Morton for the pitching staff. So, good pitching staff that Anderson, Soroka, and Max Fried. But then, they go out and made sure they re-signed Ozuna. I said that was going to be a huge deal. I think at one point you didn't think he was going to stay. Right now, the only thing I'm worried about is there's no universal DH. He's going to have to play the field. I'm hoping that changes. But because, so right now you're looking at Acuna, Pache, and Ozuna. I don't know if I really want Ozuna out there, but, I'll take his bat back in the field and his absolute fun in the clubhouse.
Well, you figure, I mean, first of all, for 4 years, $64 million, I feel like it's a pretty good deal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you figure the universal DH comes along at some point, but also there's a bunch of interleague games where he's going to be the DH, right? So like, he's going right to that spot the minute they have an away game against an AL team. I mean, I just feel like the Braves couldn't just say like, "Nah, we're not going to do this," even though we're this close. Like, this isn't necessarily going all in, which seems to be the theme of this show, but like, it's not going all in. But to your point, you sign Morton, you sign Ozuna, you kind of commit to the idea that we're a playoff team and we want to get better.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if they went out and somehow snuck Jeff Turner, put him at third over Camargo, and that.
Hey! Can you just start calling him by his real name, Justin Turner?
What'd I say?
Jeff Turner.
I called him Justin the first time, right?
No, you didn't. You called him Jeff. I let it slide, but I can't let you do it twice. Hey, listen, man. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me, whatever. I'm calling you out. Yes, but no, I think that would be a great move. I actually think that would be smart. I mean, it's going to cost some money. Maybe you can get him on a 1-year deal for like a little bit more than normal, but like that, I mean, that would be a great addition.
I mean, they've done that with Donaldson and they've done that with Ozuna. And if he loves it and wants to stay, then they can sign him like they did with Ozuna. So I think it would be good. It would be something good.
All right, let's talk about one last big money signing. George Springer, 6 years, $150. And seems to be that the country ain't doing that well, but George Springer doing mighty well, $150 million. Now again, signed by Toronto, so maybe it's that Canadian money. The Blue Jays are kind of all in.
Yeah.
Now, not all in, but they've been stacking chips for the last couple of years. This is a team that could be pretty good this year.
I think so. I mean, we got that young core that we kind of raved about, that we were looking forward to watching. I mean, Vlad Jr. is just money, and can they get the pitching this year? I think that's what you're talking about the Red Sox, you're talking about Tampa, you're talking about the Yankees. And now Toronto's put themselves in a little bit of a chance to make a run. Now, I mean, the Yankees are probably – I know you're going to hate me, but the Yankees are probably the favorite to win that division if you're talking –
No, I was going to – you forgot to mention a good team in the AL East. You forgot to mention Orioles.
Well, see, I was talking about good teams, so that's why I didn't bring up the Orioles. Like,
my bad, Baltimore. My bad.
No, you're good. So, I mean, hey, Springer's going to add that – is going to make that offense a little bit better. Good for them. I mean, say we're going to go in. Like, they need that bat, so see what happens.
It's what's interesting, and we're going to talk about this one last signing before we get to it. You've got – I'm going to pull the Red Sox out because I don't think that they can compete this year with the Yankees, the Rays, and the Blue Jays. But you look at the AL East and the NL East, a lot of these teams in these divisions are kind of pretty well stacked. And the last deal we're going to talk about is Kyle Schwarber signing just a 1-year, $10 million deal with the Nationals. But like, that's another team that like should be really good this year.
Yeah. And like they were down last year. They weren't as good as, you thought they'd win the division. They didn't have as good a year. He's only a 230 career hitter. So it's not like they're getting this 300 hitter, 40 home runs. Like, he does need to get his average back up, but he's shown promise that he is a pretty good at bat. So he's just got to, maybe the change of scenery, will help him out a little bit. We'll see what happens. The fact that I was looking at their lineup. I didn't realize they got Lester too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the article that I read. They were above the Braves. And I was like, why are they above the Braves? And then I was like, oh, Scherzer and Strasburg and was it Corbin
and Lester.
And I was like, oh my God, he's their fourth.
Yeah. And he's an old guy, but he's going to give him tons of innings. It's going to be great. Baseball's here, folks. Get ready. It's about to be on.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the NHL. I want to give you some space to talk about the Boston Bruins. We haven't talked much hockey, but this team is off to a kind of ridiculous start. 1 loss, 2 overtime losses, but 1 loss.
One regular time loss, yep.
Second most points in the NHL behind the Maple Leafs, who are just banana land right now.
Yep.
Goal differential 13, which this early in the season is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I think only Tampa Bay has a higher, and they're at like 22, by the way, which is insane.
So, you lose your captain. People say it's going to be a big deal. They seem to have just kind of kept it. I feel like they're right back where they were, at when COVID hit last year.
So I mean, yes, they lost Chara. They also lost Torrey Krug,
right?
Which is, I think, there was their third best defenseman. So they lost 2 top 4 defensemen off that team, and their goal differential is fantastic. Rask is playing great. Halak is playing fantastic. Like, it's kind of ridiculous what this Boston team is doing. And think about this. They've played 20 games or 19 games, and they've only had Pasternak for 5 of them. They've only had Grzelcyk for 6 of them, and they've only had DeBrusk for 7. This is a team that, if they have a goaltender play the whole season, they're probably going to make a deep run and make a run at the Stanley Cup. I watched a 3-on-3 overtime for the first time the other night. It was the most insane.
It's amazing.
It was the most insane thing. Like, if there's going to be a goal scored in the first minute of almost every overtime, I think that's it's absolutely crazy. Like,
I wish they did like the second period. They just went 3-on-3 the whole time. I feel like it would just be incredible. First of all, you could only play like 20-second shifts because you'd be exhausted.
Yeah.
But like that would be insane. But no, 3-on-3 overtime is phenomenal. And to your point, it gives them an opportunity to kind of get the game over quickly. And it's end-to-end action nonstop. Yeah. Let's move on to last call, presented by Progression Brewery. D, you're up first, man. What you got?
Oh, man. So one last call I talked about, we are really excited about, I'm really excited about the UMass Minutemen basketball team going out there and, Trey Mitchell possibly winning the player of the year for the NCAA. They're 6-2 in the A-10. Unfortunately, they're on a pause right now. 4 games have been canceled. 4 games have been postponed. So you're talking about 8 games they're missing. It's kind of sad that this team has, Trey Mitchell has missed multiple games. Noah Fernandez has missed multiple games. Colton Mitchell has missed most of the season, and they're playing pretty hard. They there's a couple games that they shouldn't have lost that they did. But, man, this team, it's disappointing because the COVID rate went up at UMass and all sports are on pause. So the Minute Women, who are playing fantastic basketball, and the hockey team, they're looking good too. So it's just sad to see that we don't know the future of these teams. And, all 3 of them are doing pretty well and could make some kind of postseason noise. Not saying that UMass is winning any national championship. That's not what I'm saying in basketball, but I'm just saying, like, they could get there again, and it would have been really cool to see them. And I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. So hopefully they can get back in the next couple of weeks and maybe make a little run in the A-10, and you never know, they can get to the bubble.
Hey, listen, man, anything's better than their football team. Shout out to the UMass basketball team for doing exactly what you had hoped they would do this year. My last call is going to be real quick. I just want to give out a shout out to Mark Cuban, who made headlines this week, though it was something he decided a long time ago, with the news that he had decided at the beginning of the NBA season, in consultation with Adam Silver and the NBA, to not play the national anthem at the beginning of every game. Now, I believe he did it earlier this week, but at every home game up until this point, he hadn't played the national anthem, and nobody seemed to notice or seemed to be too upset about it. It has prompted a lot of conversation about whether or not we need to be playing the national anthem before sports games. Frankly, I don't think we do, but that's a whole nother conversation. But good on Mark Cuban for doing that. I hope other owners kind of take notice and decide that maybe that's something they can do. Again, let's be clear. Most of the time the national anthem's being played, we're not watching it because it's not on TV, right? We're going to the bathroom. We're sitting on our couch. We're doing anything but actually standing at attention like folks expect us to do.
Yeah. So, I was just going to say, I tweeted that out right after the anthem finished. I said, so how many of you were standing at full salute for the national anthem at home? Because we know that's not, I didn't, I'm not going to lie. It's not something that people do. If you're not there, so, yeah, I thought I heard that they now are saying that he has to play it because it's a long running policy. I thought that just was.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I know that he consulted with Adam Silver, so I don't know. We'll see what happens, but good on him for not playing it for the first, I don't know, whatever home games.
I agree. And,
On to the next one. All right, y'all. Until next time, we'll see y'all. Be good.
Peace.